Aiyima, you know that company who makes all the cool mini amps? Well, they also have a powered home subwoofer. We're going to check it out today. Let's go! Here on the Aiyima site, they have several items, mostly amplifiers and preamps and some DACs as well, but they do have bookshelf speakers and a powered subwoofer. That's right, a single model, the 800X. Now, they offered to send me one of these over for review, knowing that I'm not going to hold back. I'm going to give you guys an honest review, so that's what we're going to do. And on Amazon, this is $195.99. We'll leave a link below if you want to check it out. But mine came in today, so let's unbox it and see what's inside. First up, we have the owner's manual. Again, this is for the single model, the 800X, which at the time of this video is the only powered home subwoofer Aiyima offers. Also, we have the power cord here for plugging it into the wall and the back of the amp. We'll show that later. Also, we have a very nice RCA cable. It's a single cable to use with your LFE out on your receiver. And we have silica gel. Make sure you don't eat that. Let's move on to the star of the show here, which is the 800X powered subwoofer. We'll take it out of the plastic so we can get a closer look. First thing you'll notice is overall it looks really neat. The other thing you may notice is its trapezoidal design. Why does it do that? According to Aiyima, the shape of the trapezoidal design of 4 degrees so as to strengthen the airflow to assist in enhancing the bass effect. So the center of gravity sinks, so the body is more stable to release a more shocking sound.
This is not a Mickey Mouse program!
We also have fiberglass paper basin, the material of fiberglass, which has a function of enhancing bass effect. I think the AIs are going a little over there on the descriptions. Now, it does have an 8-inch driver, which is fiberglass with a rubber surround. Also, we have a 3-inch flared port, which is approximately 6 inches in length. The enclosure uses high-density wood. Also, the weight does not seem to be very heavy to me for a powered subwoofer, around 13.5 pounds or around 6 kilograms. The amplifier stated to be used is the TPA 3116 bass Texas Instruments amplified chip. We'll take a closer look at that later in the video, as well as test the amplifier for output power. But now let's check out the different features it offers. Volume and gain control here is at the top, just minimum to maximum. Also, we have a low pass crossover, 250 hertz down to 60 hertz. We have a switch for phase, either 0 degrees or 180, so really cold or really hot. Also a power switch for off and on. This doesn't have the auto on function. At the bottom, we have the power socket for 100 to 240 volts of AC input. Here on the other side, we have the inputs. Includes RCA, LFE, as well as 3.5 millimeter to connect directly from the back of your mini amp. And we have speaker level inputs. If you just have speaker outputs from a receiver or something, you can go straight into this. Now, if you want to talk about dimensions, 12 inches for the height, 10 1/4 inches at the top, and 11.5 for the bottom for the width, and then 13 inches for the depth. As for the output power ratings, it says 100 watt bass output, but it says it can withstand 100 to 150 watts, enhancing the bass effect. Not really sure what they mean by that. But again, we're going to take it apart later in the video and we'll take a closer look. But first, we're going to use the A80 from Aiyima. That is the mini amp we just recently tested. And we're going to go out of the aux out of that into the RCA input. You could just use a 3.5 millimeter to 3.5 millimeter if you wanted to. Let's get it hooked up, powered up, and see how it sounds. If you have on quality headphones or really nice listening back speakers, you will be able to tell the sound here of the bass, which is decent, but it really does not drop much below 40 hertz at all. I did play back the sub for several hours in order to break it in, but I must say overall I was not impressed with the bass output. Now in order to test the amplifier, I did have to take off this back amplifier module, and later in the video I'm going to take more of it apart, so I'll show you what the speaker looks like and everything else. But let's move on to the amp dyno test. We're going to test the output power of this amplifier built in. If you haven't seen these tests before, on the left is the power output in watts, in the middle the ohm load, on the right is the voltage of the dyno, but you can ignore that because we have this amplifier plugged into the wall and the dyno is plugged into a battery bank. Let's start off with 4 ohms monos rated 100 watts according to the spec sheet. Let's find out what we get here. And very interesting, on the certified test, which is 1% distortion test, the light stayed on the entire test, so it did not count up cleanly at all. So we didn't get an accurate rating here at 1% distortion. It was always higher than that. But uncertified test takes us up to the clipping point of the amplifier. You see it will count up here, so we can see the power output at 4 ohms. And there you have it, 59 watts at 4 ohms with this amplifier at 40 hertz. We're going to move on here to the burst test. Again, it's a 40 hertz track, but it does send a pulse signal into the amp, kind of like a kick drum. And there you can see we get right around 60 watts for the dynamic test. These chip amps do not typically have a lot of dynamic power, so we're accustomed to it not showing much more or any more than other tests. Now 2 ohms mono, it's not rated for that, but let's try it here to find out what we get. We didn't try the certified test because we knew it wouldn't run. So uncertified to clipping, here you go, 91 watts, which is pretty impressive out of the chip that says it will do 100 watts, so right there at it. So not bad at all. And then of course we'll try the dynamic test again, sending that pulse track 40 hertz into the amplifier. Can we get the 90 watts? We do get 90, but it actually got more with the uncertified test. We got 91, but still right around 90 watts at 2 ohms. Here are all the results from all the tests I ran, including 8 ohms, 4 ohms, and 2 ohms. You can pause this if you want to take a closer look at all the results. These are typical results from the TPA 3116 based amplifier module. Now again, we're going to take the back panel off, even though I've already done that. I just want to show you again how we had to do this, taking off all of these screws. So we'll get it pulled out, and then we'll be able to take a closer look here at the amplifier module here, which has the amplifier module part on the top and the power supply section is at the bottom. The amp board doesn't specifically say Aiyima anywhere, but it does say 100 watts and revision date of July of 2024. We can also see the power supply section here. This translates the incoming AC voltage to DC voltage, and we'll get to that here in a minute and show exactly what DC voltage it is. We know the TPA 3116D2 chip prefers to have around 24 volts of DC, so we'll see what we get here in a minute. But speaking of the TPA 3116D2, here it is, again right in the center of the amp. It does have a nice little heat sink on it, which we'll show here at the bottom, which we pulled off conveniently so you could take a closer look at the chip. Now we did measure the voltage, and it is 24 volts that's being stepped to for the test. And according to Texas Instruments, 100 watts mono is what we should expect with around 24 volts. So not too far off from that at 2 ohms. Now in order to get the 8-inch driver out, we did have to remove some of the foam surround here, which did have some glue on it, and then remove the 8 screws so that we could pull out the 8-inch driver. And here it is. We'll take a closer look at it. There you can see the magnet on the bottom, and we will get it pulled out of the box here so again we can take a closer look. It appears to have a 1.5-inch voice coil as well as a butyl rubber surround, and this driver appears to be made by Aiyima. It has a stamp date on the back of 2025-04-22. Seeing all the different components here outside of the box, we additionally measured the DC resistance of the 8-inch driver and got 3.3 ohms. Now let's move on to the pros and cons of the 800X by Aiyima. First, let's start off with the good stuff. Obviously the looks here with the oak veneer and the trapezoidal design, it just looks really nice. The wife acceptance factor is high on a speaker like this. It does have an LFE input, also an aux input, in addition to high level in and out if you have speaker level inputs and no aux out to use on your receiver. Now things to consider, it's not a true subwoofer, has no output really below 40 hertz at all. The value versus competitors, the Polk Audio PSW10 will just kill the sub at around $200. It definitely should do better. I'd say it's a good first try Aiyima, but I cannot recommend. Now there are some instances where this sub actually may work. If you have one of these mini amps and you're using this like in a bedroom or something, and you have to have an aesthetically pleasing subwoofer for around $200, I mean, this one looks good. It's just not going to hit those really, really low notes. But if you need something is better than nothing kind of thing, then there you go. I don't like making reviews where I can't be excited and happy about a product, but in this case, yeah, we'll just have to see how they do next time. I appreciate you guys always as watching. Make sure you smash me a thumbs up. Leave me a comment below. Let me know what you think about this or other powered subwoofers. Till next time, this Big D, I'm out of here.